Hello YouTube, my name is Paul, hope you're all keeping well. I'm back today then with another collection video, and today is the turn of Sega's 32X add-on, which was designed to prolong the life of the Sega Mega Drive. Came out in 1994 and didn't do particularly well. I'm pretty sure there's only sort of about 23, 24 games on the actual console. Can't remember exactly what number of games there are, but I have a full set which I'll go through with you in a minute. But 1994 was a particularly crappy year for games for me anyway, because like all my favourite systems had died off. The one I had at the time, which was the Amiga 1200, was obviously Commodore went bust that year, and all the games that I was looking forward to coming out never materialised. Systems that had been released like the Atari Jaguar, the 3DO and the CDI didn't appeal to me. Some of them were a bit expensive, and some of them the games weren't particularly great, and they weren't really well supported consoles either, were they, to be honest. But the one thing I really wanted was a PC, which was out of my reach in terms of price, because it was about £1,000 just to buy sort of a Pentium 75 or Pentium 100 base system. A friend of mine did that, and the games were fantastic, but I had to wait another year until the PlayStation came out before I could sort of play those sorts of lovely games. So yeah, 94 wasn't a particularly great year, and the 32X didn't do particularly well. Like I said, there's probably about 20 odd games on the system, and I'm quite fortunate enough to have a full set. One of the games I got just by pure luck, and one of them, I think one of the developers or person involved in creating the game was listing a couple of copies of them, so I managed to get one of them, which was great. But yeah, I'll walk around the 32X as usual. We'll talk about the system a little bit and then talk about the games I have. That's it, so I'll see you in a second. Well, there is the 32X sat upon the Mega Drive. Is it a thing of beauty or not? I think that is very subjective. I don't particularly mind it too much. I just think it's crazy having all these different systems stacked upon each other. Which, yeah, it looks a bit bizarre when you've got the Mega CD, the Mega Drive and the 32X, and possibly the Master System Converter on top of that. But yeah, it's obviously designed to expand the life of the Mega Drive. Has a 32-bit processor in it, as far as I know. I think it's an Hitachi RISC processor running at 25 megahertz. It's considerably faster than the 68,000 that's in the Mega Drive. Obviously having a 32-bit bus as well. But yeah, that's a spacer. So that spacer there goes on to the 32X if you want to add it to a Sega Mega Drive Mark II. So I forgot that was actually on the bloody console. So I was trying to put it together. It wouldn't tune in because it's not bloody connected. So don't make that mistake, because it took me about an hour to realise that. Obviously at the back of the system then you've got the RF cables, you've got 2 power cables, so if you had the Mega CD attached you'd have 3 power cables, because they all need independent power. So yeah, it's a bit of a mess behind there. But you can play Mega Drive cartridges through the 32X, so you don't have to take it out. But obviously if you want to play the 32X CD based games you need to have the Mega CD attached. But yeah, it's the first time I've seen it running Tough Man Contest, and it looks really good. And you can see the enhanced graphics straight away, but there are obviously better examples on the 32X to demonstrate that extra power. Tough Man Contest then is in one of those case protectors for My Game Vault. I bought this particular one here so I didn't have to fold the hang tab down, which is obviously they get very not brittle, because obviously that's plastic, but they get very weak if you keep doing that. It's only a bit of cardboard, doesn't it? So yeah, that's pretty much it for the 32X. It's not a lot to show you. It's a nice piece of kit. I think it was about £169 when it came out, and it'll cost you a similar amount now, obviously in today's money, to pick it up second hand. So yeah, nice addition to the collection. Probably the most underused piece of kit I have though, to be honest, because I've hardly played any of those games ever. Now, talking about games, let's move on to talking about the games. Okay, over to the games. Well, I've just discovered, which I didn't realise, these Game Vault cases, protectors, there's stuff on them that peel off, so you can see a lot more clearly through the plastic. Blimey. Right, there's 23 cartridge based games, there's 4 CD based games. There will be a bit of glare because unfortunately they are in the box protectors. They're quite a snug fit and they're a bit of a pain to get out, to be honest. So the first game I got then is WWF Raw. It's one of those 3 games in a hard case, and I have just taken that covering off of there, so it's got extra glare. Looks really good though, these box protectors. Chuffed to bits actually. Right, the second game is NBA Jam, and I've not played many of these games, so I will be doing some spotlights on these. Like I said, the channel's based around my collection. The spotlight videos, there's loads and loads to do, so I'm not in any rush to do any, to be honest, because like I said, I've got a lot of games to cover. NFL Quarterback Club. Now these games aren't particularly expensive. I mean, they probably cost me around about 30 quid each. I don't know what they go for nowadays, but they're not cheap by no means. None of these games are particularly cheap anymore. But yeah, those kind of like hard backed cases are the only 3 on the system. Well, on the Power region anyway. Right, next up then is Metalhead, which I'm pretty sure is some kind of mech game. I think I have played this one years ago. It's not bad. Probably one of the more cheaper games on the system. I think this one only set me back about 15-20 quid. Might be a bit of discoloration on the spine there. It looks quite light. But yeah, generally most games for the 32X are quite hard to get hold of. Some are near impossible, but there are some that always pop up, a bit like Metalhead. Another one that's quite frequently available is 32 Great Holes. Another thing I've done wrong is I've put the flip-in tab on that side, so I will be peeling these away later and putting the tabs the right way round. Shame on me. So again, never played that one. Golf game. Another one that's not particularly great is Motocross. Got another reasonably priced game. Looks a bit of a mess, this one though. But again, never really played it, to be honest. Now these came out on the Mega Drive, these next 2. This one is Virtua Fighter, which obviously looks about as good as the Sega Saturn version. Again, I think these cost me about £10-15 each back in the day. Well, back when I collected them, probably about 5 years ago. Same with Virtual Racing Deluxe. Again, looks really good on a 32X. But what I did is I sold off all my Mega Drive equivalents and just kept the 32X versions. Now this one is the only way you can play Doom on the Mega Drive, and that's through the 32X. Not a bad conversion. Again, not spent any amount of time on it, to be honest. Again, quite a reasonably cheap game, about 15-20 quid back then. Right, next. It's one of the more expensive ways of playing FIFA 96. I first played this game on the PlayStation. It was quite revolutionary. I think it's the first FIFA that actually had 3D graphics or 3D stadiums. I think the actual players were still sprites, I think. But yeah, it's certainly not all in 3D. It's based on like the old original version. But it looks pretty good. I mean, this one fetches about £30-35 nowadays as well, so it's not overly cheap. I'm pretty sure it is the most expensive way to play FIFA 96. Right, next up is another reasonably priced game. That's Star Wars Arcade. Again, luckily most of these boxes are in nice condition. They're all complete. I think I've got a couple of battered boxes. But yeah, never played this one. Does look pretty good though. Next up is an arcade classic, which is Afterburner. Does look the part. Again, I've never seen it running, so I don't know how it plays, to be honest. Another classic Sega arcade cabinet is Space Harrier. Played this on the Saturn. Very good. Not played it on a 32X before. Actually, the Mega Drive version is not too bad either, is it? Right, next few are getting more expensive now and quite difficult to source. Cosmic Carnage. Yeah, never played it. It doesn't look like a particularly great game. Looks like a bit of a fighter actually. One-on-one beat 'em up maybe. Never played it. Next one is Mortal Kombat 2, which we all know what Mortal Kombat's like. Again, the 32X version is not bad, quite desirable. Probably goes for about £50–60 maybe nowadays. I'm not entirely sure. I don't really look at prices anymore, to be honest. Apart from the stuff obviously that I buy. Right, next up then is Stellar Assault, which is one of the more expensive games to pick up. This one probably cost me about 60 quid. Again, never played it. Looks pretty good. Well, I'll show you some of these CD games in a minute then. So Night Trap, I have Night Trap already on the Mega CD. I'm not sure if this one includes a spine card or not. I can't remember, to be honest. That was one of the last ones I got for the 32X CD. Corpse Killer. Sorry for the glare. Again, all these games are available on the Mega CD. Supreme Warrior, which I think is still sealed. And the last one for the CD is Slam City. Not a particularly great game. Again, I think it's still sealed. Again, the CD games are quite difficult to get. There were at one point quite a few sealed copies to obtain. Now the next game was the last game I picked up for the 32X and can vary quite dramatically in price. I think mine cost me about 90 quid maybe, but I've seen it go recently for about 180 quid. And that's Mother Base. I'm after a better copy than this. Oops, hence why I was looking at the prices for that. But again, never played it. At first glance it looks a little bit like a Viewpoint, but I could be completely off with that one. Again, not in bad condition, but I could do with upgrading that one. Next up is probably the most, I should say the best condition game I got on the 32X, and that's Knuckles Chaotix. This game came up as a buy it now for about £150, but it's pretty much near mint. And these sealed games, when they're sealed, sorry, the little tabs there, which is obviously raised up on there, usually just stuck down. So the only way they used to be sealed is by that little tab or sticker. But yeah, again, not played it, surprisingly. Now this one I played for a little bit. I quite recently swapped the box out for this one because mine was sun faded on the spine, and that's Calibri. Again, this game can fetch about £200 nowadays. Not particularly a great shooter. Looks pretty. Reminds me a little bit of like Apidia or Agony or something. It's got that sort of style to it in the way it looks. Now the last three, the trilogy, which are flipping hard to get. First one's T-Mech, which I bought from a fellow collector who was selling up a few years ago. I think he's pretty well known on Retro Collect, but I can't remember his name, to be honest. This one sent me back about £600. There's loads and loads of copies of these online, which is a shame really, so don't be fooled. They do really good copies of the manuals as well, so it's always a worry when you start picking up these last three games because obviously the amount of piracy out there. Next up is a game called Dark Side. Apparently these games were only released in the UK. Don't know how true that is. Same guys who brought us Frontier and Elite Dangerous and games like that. This one here then, the guy I bought it from done the music for it. So I asked him to do me a letter of authenticity, which he kindly done. I think he worked on a few Sonic games for Sega. The only reason I thought it would be legitimate is because he was selling about 30 grand's worth of music equipment. So I didn't think he was lying, but he had 2 copies. As you know, with these sorts of games, as soon as you get a couple of copies come up, you start asking a few questions. But he seems genuine enough. But this game again is in fantastic condition and set me back about 600 quid again. Now the next one, the final one, is probably the bargain of them all. Again, loads of copies of these come up on eBay. And what you notice is where the E is, there's usually a lot more bloody artwork after it on the copies. The original one, the actual scoring bit, comes right to the edge. But you'll see a few in Spain. Again, not mint condition, but it is complete. Beggars can't be choosers. This cost me 100 quid. And that was with another game. So as soon as it come up on eBay, contact the seller. We just take 100 quid. He's like, yep, job done. So sometimes it's the only way you can get these kinds of games, unless you want to pay full price, which I've done plenty of times. But every now and then it's nice to get a bargain. But this is probably, out of my collection, it's probably one of the more sort of biggest bargains I've had, to be honest. It's not, like I said, it's not in mint condition. That sticker is bloody brutal to get off. I've tried it, but obviously I don't want to damage the actual case. I've used like sticky stuff remover and all that sort of jazz, but to no avail. But again, that's it for the 32X. A lot of these games I've never played. They've all been tested and all work fine, but it's not an easy collection to finish, and I was quite lucky, especially with that one, because that is probably the hardest to get game on the 32X, and probably one of the hardest to get games on a PAL Sega system, to be honest. It's certainly up there in difficulty to get as Lakers versus Celtics. So I hope you enjoyed that. Again, I didn't have a lot of gameplay description to share with you, so I've not played many of these games before. That's it for the 32X. Next up, I'll probably start on the Sega Saturn collection. That's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Please like and share as well, because like I said before, could do with a few more shares. I'll see you again real soon. Bye for now.